I was listening to an interview with Garry Kasparov earlier on BBC Radio 4, where he's talking about Vladimir Putin, among other things. This is Garry Kasparov, the chess master and political campaigner. Very articulate man. He's critical of Obama for letting Assad stay in power, as well as the United States' recent strategy in Iraq. He said some interesting things about the Russian president, saying he presents himself as the victorious defender of Great Russia throughout the world. And in so many words, he says Putin's a dictator looking for enemies, and he expects him to move on to every soft spot on the map, or the geopolitical map as he called it. Basically, in Kasparov's eyes, Putin wants to create more chaos, add to the chaos around the world, because, quote, operating in chaos always gives a dictator huge tactical advantage. I don't necessarily agree with that view. You can see how chaos, or a lack of structure, and factionalism, tribalism, anarchy, all these things could work against the interests of a dictator, depending on how it played out. But having said that, I can see how a chaotic state of affairs could be turned to the advantage of an authoritarian ruler. Kasparov's been very critical of the Putin regime for quite some time now. Kasparov warns of having the likes of Putin, Assad and the Iranian leader at the negotiating table because their interest is not the same as people, leaders, diplomats who come to the table and are genuinely interested in resolving conflicts, finding peaceful solutions, because men like Putin and Assad need conflict to survive, to remain in power. That was the essential gist of what he was saying, or at least that's how I interpreted it. Garry Kasparov lives in self-imposed exile in New York, I believe. When talking about the killing of a friend and colleague who had advised him to leave Russia, Garry Kasparov spoke of the mafia-like structure of the Putin regime. This friend he referred to, Boris Nemtsov, who was killed back in February, shot 4 times in the back, near to the Kremlin. And Kasparov clearly thinks the regime was behind this assassination. Nemtsov had been publishing detailed reports dealing with corruption in Russia under the Putin regime, and he connected this corruption directly with the Russian president. I haven't seen these reports with my own eyes, and obviously I don't know what's going on inside Russia or inside the Putin regime, so I can't really comment on that. Kasparov is on the record as saying the following things about Vladimir Putin. Quote, Putin recognized that if he could get enough money, everything would be under control. Yeah, it's my understanding that Vladimir Putin's personal wealth is immense. Yeah. Kasparov has also said that Putin is like Al Capone. It's not a favourable comparison. And he's also said, quote, Putin can't afford to leave the office because he will be in real danger of being prosecuted for things he and his people did during their stay in power. Well, yeah. He views the Russian parliament, Garry Kasparov, as being filled with puppets doing what they're told by the Kremlin. So Kasparov is clearly a man who isn't afraid to state his views, and nor was Boris Nemtsov, from what I understand. I don't know what real effect Kasparov's words are having. He is a public figure. Some people will listen to him, yeah. People in the West know who he is. He's a recognisable name, sure. But do his words have any galvanising effect on Russian soil, on Russian people? I don't know. I can only speculate that for many folks, they remain silent because they feel that silence is in their best interests. This is the case in many countries around the world, East and West. I understand why people choose to keep their mouths shut. Personal self-interest is the norm. I get it. I can't speak for anyone but myself. For me personally, I'm going to speak the truth as I see it. That's the choice I make. If this puts me in danger, so be it. To those who speak their minds, at risk to their own safety, and in some people's cases, risking their own lives, I salute you.